Could there really be 5 groups of people that don't even identify themselves as groups around the world who are participating knowingly and maybe unknowingly in this time of great change? I believe there are, and the chances are really good you may be among us. Would you like to find out more? Join me for today's episode of A Time of Great Change. Welcome back. This is Tombra Harck on Tombra TV and a special new episode of A Time of Great Change. As we're just getting started, what I thought would be extraordinary today is to simply share with you a quick overview of what I've identified as the 5 primary groups of people. I tend to think of them as soul groups. However, they're not really necessarily groups at all. And we'll explore the paradox of that over the coming episodes. But for now, I thought it'd be really helpful if we had some common language and understanding about what the 5 are and how you might identify yourselves as being 1, 2, 3, or even 4 of the groups. So, in no particular order, except this is just how I remember them all, let's go over just quickly today, and then I'll go into more depth in future episodes on each of these. The first soul group at this time of great change is what I think of as humanitarian visionaries. When you hear the phrase humanitarian visionaries, a whole number of people and their images may show up in your mind's eye pretty instantly. We have a lot of notoriety among people who are self-identified and publicly identified as humanitarian visionaries. And there's more to it. There are people behind the scenes who are humanitarian visionaries who may not be in the spotlight or writing in celebrity or getting news shows or TV articles or books written about them. However, they are doing visionary humanitarian efforts with their life force in the world. The second soul group in this time of great change, I think of as people who are dedicated to consciousness and perhaps also to sustainability. So there's some languaging issues around this, and when we talk more in depth about this particular soul group, I'll share with you some of what I've learned in the last number of years. But what I can tell you about it for now, because it's an ever-changing group, this one in particular. This group is made up of individuals who have a value for consciousness and want to not just experience expanding consciousness for themselves, which they absolutely do. But we, I'll say, because I too am a part of this group, we also participate in some way in expanding consciousness or facilitating consciousness or looking to access consciousness in the way that we participate in the world. And this is undoing some of our hard structures that we've so identified with in our cultures and in our governments. However, it also means that new possibilities are being birthed through this level of consciousness. Now, I leave sustainability in this description because I think while there's been some very specific practices of sustainability, whether that's stewardship of the land or bringing sustainability practices into the way that we operate in our companies or in our communities or in our families, there's something very essential about sustainability that may not be the right word for long, but for now it's the way that I believe we can relate to this group. So that's soul group number 2, people who are dedicated to consciousness and sustainability in the ways that we individually and collectively perform in the world. Now, the third group, this one you may have heard me talk about before, is what I've coined as emergent women. Women who have lived in a very masculine identity in themselves. Not all women are a part of this group. It's not a gender issue so much as it is a reorientation to the way that one creates and participates and relates not just to themselves, but to their own vision, to their own ambition, to their own drive. I'll talk again more in depth about what emergent women are and how you might identify yourself as one. But I'll tell you this, the reason for the soul journey that an emergent woman goes through is so that she can, you possibly, and I, can live in this very expressive, powerful place, which is both heightened and depthful, that is both deeply inner and deeply contributing and involved in the external world. I think of it as this meeting place is as above, so below, as within, so without. That there's a powerful inner masculine and inner feminine that comes into expression, creativity, and possibility. So our third group, emergent women. And again, you'll find out more about each of these 5 groups as we continue in our series here. The fourth group is healers. Now, finally, a simple word, right? Healers. And I want to say, I mean every modality of healing. Every modality. So as a soul group of the time of great change, healers include both what we would consider to be traditional modalities of healing, such as your doctor, your OBGYN, your optometrist, your dentist, your chiropractor. And you might even think already of your massage therapist as being among your healers. But let's extend that to be including people who are bringing in practices and modalities that may not be quite so seen. They may be working with techniques like EFT or hands-on healing or the Akashic records or prayer. So some of these might sound like, gee, that's awfully new, or that's ancient, which has become new again. That's part of what is both the paradox and very exciting about this time in which we live, a time of great change, because we have collapsed things in so many ways to mean we've wanted to try and control it to mean that there's certain ways in which we must live, and that constellation is breaking apart. And so healers of all modalities may be a part of this soul group. So our fifth and final, for now, soul group for a time of great change are what have commonly become known as the Millennials. I'm going to say anybody who was born certainly after 89 until quite recently, and probably from here forward for a good long time. And that may not quite mean millennials in the way that you might know that generation. The people who were born in that 10 or so years before the change of the century and who've been born since have been born into a world that we could have never imagined even 100 years ago. And even 50 years ago, it was barely imaginable. And whether you're a millennial or not, you might be multiple soul groups, even as one person. It's so interesting because we are accustomed in the last 50 years to identifying people by gender and location and age, perhaps, and that is not this. We are living in a time of great possibility, and perhaps every time throughout time has the people on the planet have had that perspective, but it's never been like it is today. I hope that you'll continue to join me as we look more deeply, not just at these individual groups, but how you can identify yourself as them and where you might be struggling or judging or resisting yourself in a group, and even more importantly, where your gifts, your power, and your voice are really important to us all, here and forward. So there's much more to come. I'm thrilled to have had this time with you, and Look forward to hearing from you. If you want to know more, be sure to go to tombraharck.com/time and sign up to be a part of our community on that page so that you can be sure to, yes, get these videos, and more importantly, be invited to participate in forums, in conversation, to bring your voice, your vision, and your possibility to us and to the world. Until next time, my friend, be well.